Will you do that? I asked. I already did. Yes. Ma'am. Yes. Sir, I am done. I already did. He mumbled. That is exactly what you told Investigator Sweat and me. That is it. That is how it went down. You came this far. Nothing to be scared about. Tell us exactly how your grandmother died. Just go ahead. Your life is not over. The suspect was 15-year-old Dominique Stucky. He sat right there in our Douglasfield, Georgia interrogation room, confidently spinning lies to cover up a brutal crime. This teenager actually thought he could outsmart us seasoned homicide detectives and get away with murder. But what he did not know was that my partner and I had already examined the bloody crime scene. We knew it was only a matter of time before the crushing pressure of our room forced him to break character. I do not know why I did it, but I had the thought in my head to set the house on fire. Do what? Speak up, I ordered. That thought in my head to set the house on fire. On March 29th, 2009, Dominique called 911, breathless and frantic. He claimed he had just returned home to find his grandmother's house engulfed in smoke and flames. When our units arrived, the teenager pointed out an open door and missing televisions. He screamed that his 67-year-old grandmother, Velma Stucky, was trapped inside by a ruthless burglar. At first glance, the scene matched his story perfectly. A terrifying home invasion that turned deadly. But once our arson investigators stepped inside the charred remains of the house, the ashes told a much darker story. This was no random break-in. It was a staged execution. My partner and I immediately dragged the 15-year-old in for questioning. We sat him down and asked him to walk us through his day. You and I know how this works. We silently let him spin his alibi, unaware he was walking straight into a trap he could never escape. This is Hidden Crime Network. I want you to tell us, Dominique. And we talked about being entirely truthful. Right. As painful as it might be to talk about this case, you need to be telling us the truth. Do you understand? And I do not want you to lie to us. Dominique. Okay, look at me. Please. Okay. I do not want you lying, because we already know what happened. We just want to hear your version. We are not going to tell you what we think. We want you to tell us, okay, and speak up. Okay, I went to the mall. He stammered. Well, my grandmother was heading toward Atlanta. I did not know where she was going at first, but I know she was heading to my Uncle Carl's house. She was actually calling Carl's house so they could go down to DeKalb County Jail, visit my Uncle Albert, put money on his books, or whatever they were doing. I told her I wanted to go to the shopping center. When I got to the mall, I met up with Clinton and I talked to Karen. I was supposed to be meeting Karen there first. I think, yeah, I was originally supposed to be getting Karen there first, and by the time I finally showed up, Karen told me that she was leaving. She said her mom was not going to let her wait around. I went over there, but she was already heading out, so she was just completely gone. So, I just never saw her. So, I walked around the mall, and that is when Quentin finally got there. I met him outside of a big department store, and we were just sitting there talking. We sat on the bench outside for about an hour, just talking, and then he left with that guy who was working at the little salon. Around 9 o'clock, the mall was closing up, and my grandmother, she was not there yet. Either she called me or I called her, but we talked on the phone. She told me to wait inside Macy's, so she finally got there around 9 or 9:30, and she picked me up. She told me there was a wreck on Highway 20 and she had to take the back roads, so we just drove straight home. We got home. She was upstairs and I was upstairs too. I was just watching television in the living room. She was in the kitchen eating chicken, and we talked about taking pictures at some photo gallery place that just opened up at the mall. She went into her room to take a shower. While she was in there, I was pacing back and forth to the computer, getting onto different messenger apps, like Yahoo Messenger, BGC, or MySpace. That is when I went to get a drink, because I realized downstairs that my grandma had left the garage door open. She leaves it open sometimes, not always. but every now and then she would just forget about it while bringing groceries inside or doing something else. She would leave it up, but I would always go and close it. Sometimes she did, but 9 times out of 10, I was the one closing it. So I wanted to go for a joyride. You and I know that was a lie. You and I are going to review his statement. He claimed he knew taking the car was wrong, but logged on to chat with people anyway. He told us he was just hyped on adrenaline, thrilled because he finally found a random excuse to go driving off somewhere. He mentioned a guy, said his house was out in Douglasville, which really wasn't that far of a drive for him. Supposedly, this guy told him he couldn't go. So the kid hopped back on a site called BGC, chatting up other random people. He claimed it stood for Blackgate Chat, talking to Alex and Desmond. He said he originally asked Alex to come visit, but usually, whenever Alex showed up, Desmond tagged along. That was their standard pattern. Apparently, he made sure to emphasize that he never directly asked Desmond to come over to his place. He told me he invited Alex because he finally had a place to go. Claimed he didn't really know him well, despite talking to him for a long time. Never met him in person. Though, he swore he told Desmond he was heading out, but carefully left out exactly where he was driving to. He just vaguely warned the guy he was leaving. According to him, Desmond actually warned him not to take his grandmother's car, reminded him she might call the police, kick him out, or cause serious trouble. Basically telling the kid it was just a terrible idea, telling him not to do it, but he ignored him. He told us he played along at first, pretending he wasn't going. Said he thought it was funny to joke around before finally admitting the truth to him. He eventually admitted he was actually leaving, claimed he took a quick shower before finally stepping out of the house that night. So he left the property, blindly following these random directions. He described turning down streets, pushing left, claiming he just kept driving until he hit a dead end where the road completely stopped. From there, he said he had to turn left or right. Then he gave this rambling story about turning around, going up and down the street, looping back again, and eventually realizing he was completely lost. Just a kid driving in circles, trying to figure out where he was. He claimed he kept checking his directions, completely confused, just cruising up and down the road, having no clue where he was actually heading. Let's look at his strategy here. To prove he's innocent, Dominique tried drowning us in totally irrelevant details, rambling about eating chicken, hanging at Macy's, and logging onto MySpace. But his real tactic was readily admitting to taking the vehicle by confessing to a minor joyride he knew was wrong. He tried to fake honesty. It gave him a perfect excuse for missing the murder at home. It was a wildly calculated move for a 15-year-old, but to sell this alibi, Dominique wove an online friend into his timeline. He had absolutely no clue we were going to track that person down to verify those directions. He swore somebody gave him directions to Jagger Road. He told us he got the directions, said his thanks, and just left. Mentioned the guy was walking when he got those final street details. He claimed he wasn't far from home at all, just 3 or 4 quick turns away. That's when he supposedly pulled back into his driveway, describing how it sloped up before leveling out at the top. Once he hit that flat spot, what he strangely called the climax, he told us he saw Desmond suddenly pulling right out of his driveway. He corrected himself, saying Desmond was just attempting to leave since Dominique's car was currently blocking him from exiting. He sat in his car, claiming he asked Desmond what he was doing at the house. He made it clear Desmond never visited uninvited. He usually just arrived to pick him up. He noted Desmond usually stayed at the street edge. Seeing his car fully parked in the driveway was suspicious, so he demanded to know why. He claimed Desmond panicked, repeating that he just had to go. Dominique swore he kept demanding answers from him right there, but Desmond never answered. And for some incredibly foolish reason, Dominique claimed he just backed out of the way and let the guy leave. Once Desmond vanished, Dominique pulled up and finally noticed the garage door left wide open. He insisted the main double doors leading inside were already open, claiming he purposely left them like that earlier. He swore he did it so the noisy motor wouldn't wake anyone when he returned. After parking, he walked right inside the house and headed straight upstairs toward his grandmother's bedroom. He told us he was carefully peeking. He said he peeked around the corner, nervously wondering what Desmond was doing inside. Knowing his grandmother was the only other person home, he claimed he had to check. He stated his first instinct was checking on her safety. And that, he claimed, was exactly when he found her lying right there. Then he dropped a bombshell. He claimed he didn't know why, but he suddenly got the urge to commit arson. I pushed him to speak up. He repeated it clearly. He felt the sudden urge to set fire. What do you make of that? Dominique realized his joyride alibi was collapsing. It couldn't explain the fire or the murder itself. Watch this massive on-the-fly calculation. He magically drops Desmond right into his driveway, handing us detectives the absolute perfect scapegoat. He claims he walked inside, found the body, and impulsively sparked the fire. Dominique's attempting a high-stakes legal trade with us. He's willing to confess to arson, claiming a random urge, just to pin the actual homicide on somebody else. But for that to work, you and I know we detectives actually have to believe his story. We brought Desmond into the interrogation room. Immediately, he hedges. Before we start, I gotta admit this all happened last year. So if I seem a bit hesitant, he told us, it's probably because I really just don't remember everything. I nodded. Yeah, that's fine. All right, go ahead. Listen, my partner Eddie and I aren't sitting here to judge you or to get too far into your personal business. I told him, but there are just some specific things we've got to ask you today. And I'd really like for you to feel comfortable enough to just tell us the absolute truth about everything. Exactly the same way you would if you were asking me about my own personal relationships. I'd be honest with you. I assured him, I really just want us to have an open, comfortable conversation. And look, if you ever feel uncomfortable at any point, just tell me. We'll completely respect your boundaries. Okay, all right, I continued gently. I completely understand why people naturally want to stay loyal to each other, especially when you share something deeply in common, or have some kind of totally unique connection. If me and some other guy both happen to have a rare condition like cystic fibrosis, for instance, we'd obviously have a ton in common right away. I'd understand exactly what they were going through in their life. I bet you and Dominique probably bonded exactly like that. Let's be real. There aren't many people out there you can just sit down and talk freely with about the hard things. So I know, based on the case file we've been reviewing and what you've mentioned before, that you guys were kind of close. Maybe not best friends, but close enough that you felt completely comfortable talking to him about anything. Right. And I know you really don't want to get your friend in trouble or do anything that might end up hurting him during this homicide investigation. He interrupted. Before we go there, I know you detectives hear this constantly, but I genuinely have zero ties to Dominique that would make me protect him. It's just the simple fact that I didn't know the guy for that long. Okay, I had just moved down to Georgia from New York. Right, straight from New York. He was literally the only person I knew in Douglasville. Period. I'd just gotten a car, and he lived right around the corner from me. So yeah, but honestly, other than that, we never, sure. Things eventually reached a point where I felt completely comfortable talking to him, but I never personally had any deep connection or anything like no loyalty where I'd actually feel the need to defend him. I jumped back in. Did you have any contact with him after the fatal fire after his grandmother died? Phone. Chat room. No, because right after it happened, I found out through a mutual acquaintance of ours. That guy told me to go search for the actual fire on Google. I asked, who was this mutual friend? I don't remember. I barely speak to my old crowd anymore. It was really just some boy I knew. Okay, I said. He was, like, one of Dominique's buddies. Actually, yeah, I didn't even really know the guy personally at all. I pushed, how did he get your number? Did you have his? No, Desmond replied. It was online. He knew me and Dominique were online friends. I clarified immediately. When you say online, you mean the BGC? Yeah, exactly, he said, and that was really it. He told me to look up the blaze, and I was just like, wow, because the night the fire happened, we were actually supposed to hit the mall or something the very next day. So I called him, but he didn't pick up. I tried calling again because it went straight to voicemail, but he still didn't answer the phone. So I finally just left a voicemail for him, saying, "Hey, call back when you get this. Checking if you still want to hang out." I nodded at him, and that was the absolute last time I had any contact with him, if you even consider that contact. I leaned in. "So after this, when he was in a group home, you didn't communicate at all?" "Why?" "Because another investigator advised me it'd be better if I didn't reach out. So I simply never tried." I nodded. "You and I both know this is where it gets interesting. Can you name some of his friends?" "Detective, you and I both know I was clueless about his personal life. I just hung out with the kid to cure my boredom. I definitely wasn't emotionally invested enough to keep track of his little friends. So how'd you two meet online?" "Right after I moved down to Georgia, I updated my location profile, which, obviously, means Douglasville." "Right. He sent me a direct message first." I honestly can't recall every exact detail of what was said, but I quickly figured out he lived right around the corner. Back when I first moved into the area, I didn't even have a car yet, so I couldn't easily meet anyone. Once my parents finally bought me a car, I figured, hey, I can drive now, so we can actually hang out. But I still asked him, what is there to do around Douglasville? He said absolutely nothing. So, one time, we just hit up Walmart. Right. Now, tell me about that specific trip to Walmart. Did you pick him up directly from his house? Yeah. All right. Whenever we hung out, I'd pick him up, but he always made me wait down the street. He claimed his grandmother hated him having gay friends around, or something like that. Got it. So you just parked down the block. He'd walk over, we'd drive off, and eventually come back. That day at Walmart, we honestly just walked around aimlessly. There was clearly nothing to do, so we drove back. We ended up just talking inside my car. Just sat there doing whatever. Maybe the music was playing. I don't really remember. But we talked until I finally said, all right, time to go home. Okay, what about the time you two went to AutoZone? Did you pick him up outside? Down the road? Or what? Right at the house. Okay, so you actually pulled straight into his driveway? Exactly. Okay, let's look at this together. Why did he let you use the driveway this time, but not for Walmart? When I pulled up, I noticed there wasn't a car inside his garage. I have no clue why, but the garage door was left wide open. I assumed nobody was home, which is why he allowed it. Right. So you both go to AutoZone and do what exactly? I bought some spray paint. Okay, because when I bought my car, it still had these weird white spots everywhere. So I bought paint. Wait, what kind of car? Suzuki Reno. All right. So you grabbed the paint, then you drove back. Yeah. Then he grabbed some towels or newspaper, something to mask it so I could spray the car. Gotcha. After that, he gave me a little house tour. He showed me his dogs. This is exactly what I remembered during my last interview. Apparently, after I left, he texted someone saying, oh, that was a good quickie, or something along those exact lines. Listen, I'm going to be completely honest and open with you here. I never had any romantic exchanges with him. Okay, but you clearly had more than just a casual, hey, how are you dynamic going on? Right. Reading these texts, it was clearly more, fine. It was flirtatious. I'll admit that. Right. But when I say it wasn't romantic, I mean nothing ever happened outside the digital arena of those text messages. Zero physical contact. Because honestly, let's be real. Number one, the kid was only, 15 years old. So I had absolutely zero interest in pursuing any kind of relationship on that level. Second, I just wasn't physically attracted to him. At all. Like I said, he was the only person I knew in Douglasville. I'd joke around and be a bit flirtatious simply because that's my natural personality with everyone. I mess around with people, but on a serious level. Nothing ever happened because I already had a boyfriend. So that was that. You and I are digging into this. But the craziest part is, I never really knew him. Apparently, he had real issues, like I told the last detective I spoke to, because he essentially asked me this: did I ever notice him having problems with his grandmother? Or if he ever expressed any serious dislike for her. The only time he complained about her was totally normal teenager stuff. Just a typical 15-year-old acting out and saying, "Man, my grandma's so incredibly annoying," or whatever. "She gets on my nerves." Just like everyone said. I hear that all the time. But listen, did he ever say anything to you about them getting into any heated arguments? Did she ever tell him he had to get out? Or force him to, totally change who he was hanging out with? Did he ever mention anything even remotely like that? He used to tell me, the few times we texted, he mentioned he was out to eat with her and stuff. So I honestly got the impression that everything was perfectly fine. Yeah, a totally healthy relationship. When we brought his scapegoat into the room, the contrast was staggering. Desmond wasn't defensive, and he wasn't spinning wild timelines. Why? Because he had no clue he'd been framed for murder. Listen closely. In just minutes, he unknowingly dismantled Dominique's entire trap. He confirmed he had no real romantic ties to the kid. He had zero motive to attack the grandmother. Most importantly, he proved Dominique explicitly kept him away from that house. With Desmond's alibi fully verified, we now knew for a fact that the 15-year-old boy sitting in our interrogation room was the sole architect of this murder. And that is when we stopped playing nice. You came this far? Finish it. Yeah. Stop shaking. There's nothing to be scared about. Just tell us how your grandmother died. Just go ahead. Don't worry if it sounds different than what you've already told us. That is fine. Okay. Just tell us how she died. Did you do it? Did Desmond do it? No. Don't shake your head. Did somebody else do it? Were there 3 people? Dominique. Just stop. Stop. Tell the truth. Look right here. Stop. Look up at me. All that shoulder shrugging. We already talked about that, right? Didn't I tell you? Did you do it? Dominique, are you finally going to finish? Who did it? Let me get you a tissue. Who did it? Dominique, tell us how it happened. Listen to Detective Copes. Dominique, tell us what happened. Okay. That is your own grandmother. Tell us what happened. Say, now I know you're sorry. That is the very first real emotion I've seen out of Dominique. It's okay. Dominique, your life is not over. You and I know Desmond was never inside that house. When we returned to the room with that fact, our entire approach shifted completely. We stopped asking for his version of events. We started commanding him to tell the truth, calling out his physical shaking and nervous shoulder shrugging. We were actively tearing down the confident facade he had walked in with. And the moment he broke into tears, we immediately offered him a psychological lifeline. We told him his life wasn't over. It was a calculated push and pull, designed to totally shatter his resistance. And it worked. Dominique was finally about to confess what went down inside. But watch this. He still refused to admit he swung the weapon. I told him, "Go ahead. You want me to ask you the question? All right. Well, tell us how it came to be that Desmond was at the house. I invited him there. And what happened when he got there? When was that? What time was it? It was after 12. Speak up, please." And so, Dominique, how did he? Hey, do me a favor and talk kind of loud. Okay, so we can hear you. What time did he get there? Right around 2. And what exactly happened once he got there? Where was your grandmother at that time? She was upstairs in her room. Sleeping. That is all. We were downstairs in the living room, just talking. And what happened next? That is when my grandma came downstairs, and there's a door to the living room. So she opened the door. And I never expected it, because she never comes down there. Right. The one time she comes down there, and the door was closed. Usually it means she is leaving, going to work. She walked in, like she was going to work or something. She came down there and was so mad. She was cursing at him, cursing at me. Speak up. Asking him why he was even there. Telling him that he was a grown man. and I was nothing but a child. I was only 15 years old. You and I are stepping right into the interrogation room. He claims she made these sick, twisted gay jokes. Not jokes, he says. Remarks. Slanders. We press him. Did your grandmother catch you with Desmond? No. Okay. He claims they were just sitting there while she screamed and ranted at them for a solid 10 minutes. We ask for details. He deflects, saying, she told me she was like, get him out of my house. She walked upstairs. We push forward on the timeline. What exactly happened then? I told him to leave. He says, we nod. My room. Where did he go, we ask. Out of the house. Into the garage. He stammers, even through the fake tears. We watch Dominique cling to his scapegoat. He doubles down, telling us he invited Desmond inside before his grandmother caught them downstairs. He hands us this highly specific emotional motive, claiming she made homophobic remarks and aggressively demanded the stranger leave. By injecting a deeply real, personal conflict into this story, Dominique hopes we will actually believe the brutal homicide that followed was Desmond's, not his. But to sell us this lie, he makes the most chilling admission of the entire interrogation, putting himself mere feet from the murder scene. Then what happened? I was in my room crying. He whines. I heard footsteps, and I was too scared to go up there, until I stopped hearing the noise. We stare right at him. What happened? Why speak up? My partner Pete demands, and what did you say to him? I asked him why he did that. What did he do, right? Total shock. Didn't expect that. We cut to the chase. Did you hear your grandmother screaming, huh? He answers, yes. What was she saying? Stop. She was calling me. We echo his words, saying stop and calling your name. Why was she calling your name, we ask. 'Cause I was at the house. Because I was there. We lean in closer. Was she just saying stop? Dominique. No. She was screaming for me to come help her. He admits. We lock eyes. Who? And then what happened? Speak up. Tommy. We coax him gently. You're doing great. Just speak up. I just stood there. We hit the brakes. What, you stood where? While you saw what happened? You just stood there. Where was Desmond, we ask. Probably standing right beside me. Okay. Dominique sits here telling us he stood outside her door, listening to his own grandmother scream his name while being beaten to death, doing absolutely nothing. He claims he was too terrified to intervene, desperately trying to sell us this paralyzed witness routine instead of admitting he participated in her execution. But we already know the physical crime scene evidence doesn't support a paralyzed witness. Stick with us here. We are about to methodically confront him with every single calculated step he took to cover up this murder. Because we know exactly what happened. Let us get this straight. We say, you're in your room crying. You hear your grandmother screaming, yelling, calling for your name. Right. So, you go straight to her. No, you didn't go to her. He mutters he waited. Why did you do that? Because I was scared and didn't know what was going on. What did you think was going on, we press. They were having a physical altercation. He mumbles. Why were you doing that, we ask. He stammers quietly. What? You thought everything would burn up so nobody gets in trouble. We challenge him. Then why did you take her property, Dominique, and throw it into a wooded area? Why do that, we ask. Because it was gas, and that's what I used to set the fire. He finally confesses. Okay, so why did you take the jewelry too, we ask. He shakes his head. I didn't know it was jewelry. Well, somebody had to gather it from your grandmother's jewelry box. We remind him. It was wrapped up in something. I never looked inside to see what it was. We strike back quickly. Did Desmond help you do that? Let's review the tape. Gathered stuff after killing her. The TVs. We kept pushing. What was the plan? Take the TV so it looks like a robbery. Take those TVs and make it look like somebody robbed the house. That what you said? We kept him talking. Get your head up. Dominique, you're doing just fine. So, you set the fire. We summarized. Went to Charlie Road. Dumped the stuff you took from the house. And then just came right back home. Right. My partner locked eyes with him. Were you hoping the whole house would be burnt down? Yeah, pretty much, he mumbled back to us. I didn't think $1 of gas would fail to burn down the house. And just like that, our trap finally closes. We forced him to walk through every single move he made after killing his grandmother, taking those TVs into the woods, stashing the jewelry, and buying that gasoline. Sitting across from us, he confessed every move was a calculated effort to stage a robbery. He admitted to us he wanted the whole house in ashes, taking all the evidence with it. The 15-year-old who sat down spinning us some boring joyride story had just outlined a chilling, premeditated cover-up. Our interrogation was essentially over, but the most gruesome forensic truth of that crime scene was still waiting. By the time we finished questioning Dominique Stucky, he admitted to almost the entire cover-up, but he still clung to the lie that some guy named Desmond swung the weapon. But we didn't even need a full confession to lock this case down. The physical and digital evidence was already piled miles high against him. When we pulled his computer search history, we uncovered the exact timeline of a premeditated murder. Dominique was searching the web on how to murder someone and get away with it. We knew this wasn't a spontaneous act of rage or some panicked post-argument decision. It was a calculated plan, and the crime scene itself told us the darkest story of all. Velma Stucky was savagely beaten with a garden hoe and stabbed repeatedly in the face. But the medical examiner handed us a truly horrifying forensic reality. She didn't die from those horrific injuries. We found carbon monoxide in her blood. When Dominique poured gas across that bed and lit the fire to cover his tracks, his 67-year-old grandmother was still taking breaths. The jury didn't buy his little joyride story, and they definitely didn't buy his fake scapegoat. Our evidence was just too loud. December 2010. The kid who thought he could outsmart us veteran homicide detectives was found guilty of malice, murder, and first-degree arson. They deliberated for under an hour. Dominique Stucky got life in prison for the homicide, plus another 20 consecutive years for the arson charge. The Georgia Supreme Court completely denied his later appeals. He'll spend the vast majority of his life behind bars. You and I know how this goes. Drop your thoughts down below. Does a 15-year-old behind such a savage, premeditated murder deserve a life sentence? Or should our justice system treat violent juveniles differently? Could we have somehow prevented this? If you appreciate how my partner and I break down these true crime interrogations, like, share, and subscribe. You won't want to miss our next case file. Until our next shift, remember, this betrayal thrives when we assume the people living under our roof are safe. When a suspect proves who they really are, believe them the very first time. Stay safe out there. Stay sharp. And thanks for riding with us today. We'll see you for the next investigation from Hidden Crime Network. Take care. This story is a chilling reminder that choices made in moments of anger, fear, or selfishness can destroy entire lives forever. A teenager, driven by impulse and hidden thoughts, didn't just make a mistake. He made a series of calculated decisions that led to irreversible tragedy. What's even more haunting is not just the act itself, but the effort to lie, to manipulate, and to shift blame instead of facing the truth. The lesson here is clear. Accountability matters more than excuses. No matter how young someone is, the moment they choose deception over honesty, they step further into darkness. One lie leads to another, until the truth becomes impossible to escape. It also highlights the importance of mental and emotional awareness in young people. Thoughts, frustration, or harmful ideas, if ignored, can grow into dangerous actions. That's why guidance, communication, and early intervention are critical. Most importantly, this story teaches us that trust is fragile, especially within families. The people we feel safest around can also be the ones we fail to truly understand. Staying aware, listening closely, and taking warning signs seriously could prevent unimaginable loss. In the end, truth always rises, but sometimes it comes too late to save what mattered most.